Our watch list for today is the USTEC 100, and finally we saw price break out of that 15,530 level during the New York session yesterday. Remember, we already had a buy position triggered during our live session yesterday, and currently we have about 360 pips running in profit at this point in time. For those of us who are taking advantage of this opportunity, well done and kudos to you for being on standby to capitalize on this move. Now, for the sake of those who missed out on yesterday's live session, let's quickly run through how the week started for us here in this community, what we saw and what led to the decisions we made. Well, on the 4 hours time frame here, the first thing we observed since the beginning of this week was the fact that price action was consolidating and confined within the 15,530 and the 15,445 area to give us an insight into the uncertainty that gripped this market at that point in time. In fact, this consolidation phase lasted for over 36 hours before that traction happened. Now, during our live session yesterday, I made mention that because of the fact that even within the flat channel, we were able to observe a series of higher lows, which gave us this beautiful ascending trend line we had here. And one of the things we agreed here yesterday is that as long as price remains above the ascending trend line, we shall feel comfortable in the buy position. And in that regard, we placed a buy stop order above the 15,530, and look at what happened here. We saw an engulfing bullish candle spring out of that structure and went all the way to the upside, and in that move gave us over 360 pips in profit. So once again, for those of you who capitalize on this opportunity, well done and kudos to you for being on standby to capitalize on this move. And of course, you know how we do it in this community. As soon as price moves significantly well in our favor, we do want to be moving our stop losses and protect the current buy position. And for those of us who still have a buy position running at this point in time, I want to encourage you to move your stop losses accordingly. Move your stop loss and secure the current buy position we are in right now. And from the current market structure we have here, I will be suggesting that anywhere around the 15,820 and the 15,770 area seems most appropriate to lock in our profit at this point. So move your stop losses on all buy positions around that area, while we also give enough breathing space for price action to move around, with the hopes that price will continue to the upside. Now, with a well-secured position at this juncture, what is going to be our next line of action for today? Are we going to continue buying the USTEC 100, or are there chances that we will be seeing some profit-taking activities after majority took advantage of that impulsive move that started yesterday? Well, before we can have a well-informed decision going to the New York session today, let's quickly take a review of the higher time frame so that we can have an holistic perspective into what is going on here. Now, at the beginning of this week, our center of focus started from the daily time frame, where we obviously acknowledge the fact that price action has been bullish since the beginning of this year. And to further emphasize the strength of the buyers here, we have a couple of ascending trend line, where the major one is this one highlighted on your screen right now. And of course, if you look at the structure closely, you can see how uniformly and consistently price action had respected that trend line. However, something interesting happened in the last 2 to 3 weeks in this market, where we saw price break down that ascending trend line for the first time, which gave us an insight into the possibilities that sellers could likely be coming in, as we looked at the potential of a retracement back into the structure to incite a downtrend move. However, what based on what happened during last week's trading session, we saw some selling pressure resume actually, but on Friday of last week we saw that engulfing candle take us out of that position, breaking out of our key level, which was situated at the 15,300, to incite a new wave of bullish momentum. And of course, you know how we use our key levels in this community. As long as price action remains above the key level, we want to be looking out for patterns and structures that supports the idea of buying that asset. And one of the things we were looking at the beginning of the week was the potential that price may retrace back into structure in anticipation of the uptrend, but that never happened, of course. And one of the other things we also said here is, if price does not retrace, if a consolidation phase happens here, a breakout of the consolidation phase will welcome buying opportunities, and this is exactly what has happened here. And once again, congratulations to everyone who took advantage of this move. Now, going into the New York session today, and based on what we are seeing on the daily time frame, how do we intend to capitalize on the next move? Will this bullish momentum continue, or are there chances that we could still see some retracement back into the key level or the ascending trend line to anticipate another trend to the upside? Now, if we go to as far back as the month of July, we can see that the highest point price has gotten to this year is around the 15,930 level. So in that regard, I want us to acknowledge that area, as it's going to be playing a major role in determining how price is going to be moving today. So if we mark it appropriately, we have it right there. So we have the 15,930 level. So you do want to be marking this level out on your chart, as we will be needing it as a reference point, maybe to guide bullish opportunities or even bearish opportunities if buyers find it difficult to break through that area. So this is the level we are going to be monitoring for today's trading session. Hold on a second, I want this to reveal itself on my lower time frame, so let's do this quickly. So the 15,930 level right now is an area where we are going to be watching how price is going to react to that area. Now, what happens before price gets into that level? Are we going to be having some opportunities to add more positions? Let's scale down into the 1 hour time frame to have a quick look. Now, on the 1 hour time frame, let's look at what is going on here. So this is the 15,930 level. So let me allow this to come within the space of the screen. So I will give this, let's see. Okay, let's do it like this, 15,930. All right, so we have a level right here. So let me bring this a little bit closer to... All right, great. So now, since the early hours of today, while I was trying to monitor the nature of price action around this area, I marked out a level here at the 15,870, where I said if a breakout happens, I want to be adding more position, and I actually did add more positions, had a breakout of the 15,870 as price action gradually approached the 15,930. But if it so happens that price action comes back, for those of us who missed on this one, we could still look forward to a retest of structure where the appearance of buy pressure will be giving us more opportunity to add more buy position to our existing trade. Now, besides that one, I can see a trend line after we connect the series of higher lows here. So let's do this appropriately. So if we connect the series of higher lows, now let's bring back our candle chart and let's allow this pivot lows to be tested. In fact, I think I have a couple of them right here. Look at this one right here, and then let's have this one as a temporary one. So I will just give this a 1 pixel. So beautiful. So we have an ascending trend line here marked out. So as long as price remains above this ascending trend line, we feel comfortable in our buy position. So our stop losses should be way below this ascending trend line to make us feel comfortable in our positions. So now, with that being said here, I will be looking out for more buying opportunities. Hold on a second. I will be looking out for more buying opportunities as long as price remains above this ascending trend line, and if price action goes on to break out of the 15,930, which happens to be the highest level price action has been for this year, we will continue to add more buy positions to our existing trade. Now, there is a caveat to the breakout of the 15,930. There are two ways to which we can capitalize on that move. Now, the first one is for those of us who are profitable this week, those who have been buying with us in this community since the early days of the week, you'll definitely be in profit right now. So you can afford to risk some of the profit you had made so far this week to test waters above the 15,930. So placing a buy stop order above that structure is quite reasonable at this point. And if it doesn't work out, we know that we are only risking some of the profit we are made. However, if you are joining us for the first time and this is your first trade with us, then I would encourage you to exercise patience and wait for a retest of structure to happen, where continued buy pressure will now give us an opportunity to join the uptrend move. So we remain bullish on the USTEC 100 today as long as price remains above this ascending trend line. Now, in as much as we are looking out for buying opportunities, you know how we do it in this community, we also want to keep tabs with the opposite direction as well. What are the chances that sellers have in this particular market based on the current market conditions we have? Now, the first thing I would like to state here is that from a psychological standpoint, for those of us, for the majority of the market participants, the major key players in the market who had bought the USTEC 100 at a cheap price around that range we identified here at the beginning of the week, may start considering doing some profit-taking activities, especially as we anticipate the retail sales data coming in from the United States today. And if this is going to be a possibility, we might likely be seeing some bearish momentum happen here. And what are the chances that we want to see? What are the things we want to see on this chart that will make us feel comfortable selling? Before I go into that, let me emphasize here that the 15,930 is the highest point price action has gotten to this year, and we saw how sellers came in as soon as price got into that area in the month of July. Now, if it so happens that sell pressure comes in again around that area, we could likely see a crash or a sell-off here. Now, to sell the USTEC 100, I would want to see price break down this ascending trend line. Now, if price breaks down the ascending trend line and does a retest of structure, we want to be getting ready to sell. Remember that we are not getting too excited here, that if price break down, we need some confirmations like retest of structure before we want to be joining that bearish move to the downside. So you can see how crucial this ascending trend line is for us today, as it is going to be playing a major role in determining how or the direction of price action today. So it's simple. If price remains above the ascending trend line, we hold on to our bullish bias. But if price breaks down the ascending trend line, then that will be a signal that the trend line may no longer have the capacity to continue to negate the bearish attempt, hereby welcoming opportunities to sell. So in that regard, you do want to be marking out these levels on your chart, as we will be needing them as a reference point to guide our independent trading decisions for today. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. As usual, I will be taking the next 10 seconds to see if there are any questions, while you also use that time to mark out these levels on your chart.